Can you hear me okay? Yeah. I don't speak a word of Spanish, so I don't know what Rafael just told about me. I just heard my name and my business name, so I hope it were just good things. And I think I heard the word translation a couple of times, so I thought that you certainly will understand the translation leg, my translation leg, and you know where I'm coming from. I have a degree in translation. I just passed a diploma in translation. I've been working as a translator for 6 years. But the other half of me, or the other hat that I'm wearing, is very much about entrepreneurship and business. And it all started a way back when I was still in high school in Poland. I was about 15 or 16, and I took part in a nationwide competition for young entrepreneurs. It was a whole new thing. You know, Poland, this country that was just, we just left the communist era and everything. There was no business, there was no entrepreneurship at all. So they wanted to sort of find people who had this entrepreneurial spirit. And I managed a group of 5 people, and our job was to come up with let's say an idea or a marketing idea, a business idea to sell something that no one could ever imagine that was possible. The product they wanted to sell was the ability to take your mobile phone, go to a shop, take a photo and send to your friends and ask them if they liked it. Right? So at that point, they thought it will never, ever be possible. And our task was to come up with a business model and a marketing plan to sell this product to others. And my team won. And someone told me at that time, that many years ago, that they would buy anything from me. So they even were able to buy an idea that was so abstract back then. And that's when I started thinking that maybe there is really something in this entrepreneurial spirit, that maybe it's not about what we're selling, maybe it's not about what is the product or what people are prepared to buy, but who actually sells the product or a service. And then I became a translator, right? So that's the story. So today I wanted to talk about clients, because that's something that well, it is very interesting, because without clients we can't really translate unless you do it for pleasure. So the real title for this presentation is actually The Business Magic. But I'm aware that if I called it The Business Magic, no one would ever invite me to present anywhere, right? So I had to give it clients everywhere, how to find and land clients so that people actually invite me to these presentations and people come and listen to me. But the real idea behind it is to talk about what happens in this place where translator meets the client. Because we, very often in this industry, we forget that there is this place between. And we, as translators, exist, and we think we care about our words, we care about our sentences, but we forget that we actually coexist with our clients. So what I want to do for today is to talk about the translator side, the client side, and then what happens in between. Because the way I see business, and I'm going to be a bit cheeky, it's a bit like falling in love, right? How many guys are there in a room? Okay, so all the girls in this room, just imagine if you see a guy that you really like and you want to talk to him and you think that, well, yeah, maybe there will be something between you and him. You want to do everything on earth possible to look as great as possible, right? We all know the story, the best clothes, a hairdresser, nails, and all that. We go to a date, we have all the topics prepared, we look wonderful, we want to impress and charm the other person, right? So now it's exactly the same in business. Business, for me, it's like falling in love. We do all that. We get ready, we get prepared, we go there, we talk to this person, we have our topics, we have our, the things that we really want to show off, to brag about, so that's what we do in our private lives, and that's what works in the business life as well. Okay, so that was the introduction. Now a set of rules for today. I will ask you to participate, because as Rafael said in his presentation, and someone tweeted it, we need to create, collaborate, share, and comment, the 4 C's. I know that it works better in Spanish because there are actually 4 C's there. but I'll ask you to take part, so there will be some breaks when I'll ask you to do things. Number 2, it's going to be a bit more practical. So as I said, I'll ask you to do things, because I believe that entrepreneurship is actually about doing. So that's what I want to see here today. There won't be much on slides, so please do take notes. And I'll send you a cool worksheet from this presentation if you subscribe to my mail list in the newsletter in 24 hours. I mean, that's not really true, but I wanted to put a promise to it that if you don't do it in the next 24 hours, you're not going to get anything. So please do. Okay, and I would really love to see the majority of you tweeting, so that's my Twitter nickname, and that's the hashtag. Now the outline of my presentation. So as I said, in part 1, I'm going to talk about the translators. I'm going to talk about the side we know quite well, but I'm going to look at it from a bit of a different perspective. So I'm planning to spend about 45 minutes on it. Then the client, so that will be about 30 minutes. And then what happens in between, the magic. Okay? And set of goals for today. You will get some ideas on how to establish yourself as an independent, happy, creative, modern entrepreneur, whatever that means, right? So I want you to walk out of this room with some ideas, with some examples and some ideas on how to do that, on how to be an entrepreneur. And you will look at your clients like you've never looked at them before, and that's something I promise, because we're going to do an exercise that will change completely the way you look at your clients and the way you look at business. And you will leave this room inspired and full of ideas, and that's a promise. Okay? So you can't, I mean, as long as you don't feel inspired, you're not leaving this room for lunch, so please do your best, right? Okay, so let's start with part 1. And now this is going to be something really cool, but I've never done it before, so please help me actually do it the way it's supposed to be. It's going to be an icebreaker, and because I'm very strategic, I needed to draw a graph to explain how it's going to work, right? So who is not on Twitter in this room? Who is not on Twitter? Okay, quite a number of people. So people who are not on Twitter have 2 choices. You can either, if you have a phone or a tablet, set it up quickly, just ask someone around you and set it up, or take a piece of paper, right? I'll leave it up to you. Now, people who are on Twitter, log in, because you're going to tweet something in a minute, right? And there are over 150 people in this room, so I'm expecting at least 100 of tweets. The task is, I'm going to open up Twitter, a live Twitter feed, and the question is, why do you translate? And I want you to answer either on Twitter or on the piece of paper, and we're going to collect the answers. Why do you translate? And don't forget to include the hashtag. Okay? I'll just have a look. Okay. So I'll give you about five minutes to think about it, and I'll put up a Twitter feed so that we'll be able to see why do we translate. Okay? You can talk. I'll be refreshing it every couple of seconds. So just think, why do you translate? What is it that makes you translate? And I'm sure it's not money, right? And no one's going to reply to money, so... Just realized, thanks. And that's why it's an icebreaker, because there are so many of us we would never be able to talk to each other. So you can look at what others replied as well, so that you can we can get to know each other, and we'll have a really nice memory. If you get home tomorrow or later tonight, you can just read it, why people translate, what is it in it that keeps them translating. And you can tweet it in English, in Spanish, or both, or you can tweet it and then translate it. That's what we know how to do it, right? So. And those who are watching the web stream, you can just go on Twitter. I don't know, you can probably see me now. Hi. And you can go on Twitter and read them too. Keep tweeting. Or you can have more than 2 Ys, right? I mean, you can say you translate because you love it and for the money, or something like that. Just scroll down. Can you read? Is it big enough? Can you see the replies? I'll just make it slightly bigger for you. Okay, so that's another just 45 seconds left. Oh, keep them coming. "30 seconds left. Time for your last tweet." Okay, is everybody done or almost done? Did anyone write them on a piece of paper? So I thought, yeah, I can walk. It's going to be okay. I'll collect them, okay? And I'll take a photo of them. I'll take a photo of them afterwards, just to put it.
I'm sorry about the handwriting.
Don't worry. So that everyone participates. I'll put up the next slide, and I'll collect the rest of them as we do the next bit. Because this icebreaker is not only an icebreaker. Oh, we've got 25 new tweets. People, you're all wonderful. So you can go through them after the event, right? Just to see why people translate. There is a point of doing this exercise besides it being an icebreaker. See, I'm getting better at Spanish. So the point of it is that there's actually something in business that's connected to the fact why we do things. And there is this gentleman, Simon Sinek, who came up with a really brilliant idea. And I wanted to share this idea with you. I'm going to play a clip that is about 3 minutes long. And I want you to listen to it very carefully, and I'll collect the notes. Right. I need to find it first. I'm going to need the speakers.
Turns out, there's a pattern. As it turns out, all the great and inspiring leaders and organizations in the world, whether it's Apple or Martin Luther King or the Wright brothers, they all think, act, and communicate the exact same way, and it's the complete opposite to everyone else. All I did was codify it. And it's probably the world's simplest idea. I call it the golden circle. Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do, 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And why should anyone care? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple because they're easy to understand and everybody gets it. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done, that's how most sales is done, and that's how most of us communicate interpersonally. We say what we do, we say how we're different or how we better, and we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's our new law firm. We have the best lawyers with the biggest clients. We have, we always perform for our clients, do business with us. Here's our new car. It gets great gas mileage. It has, leather seats. Buy our car. But it's uninspiring. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one?
Okay, so I hope that you got what I wanted to say by why. So the key takeaway, and you may want to tweet it, is it's not about what we do. It's about why we do it, also in translation. And now I watched this clip some time ago, and I didn't really see the connection between this and the world, the big business, Apple computers, and what we do in translation. But I managed to, here is the pun, translate it into our business. And I managed to see how it relates to what we're doing. Oops. Just spoiled my own presentation. Should work now. Okay, so what this guy said is that in business, we have this golden circle. What, how, and why. And I'm sure everybody in this room knows what we're doing, right? We're here, so we supposedly, I hope we know what we're doing, right? We're translating and interpreting. That's what we're doing. So everybody in this room is selling exactly the same thing. Selling meaning, doing or offering, translation. Some of us in this room may know how we're doing it. So you may want to say, oh, I really pay attention to detail. I really do a lot of research. That's how I do my translation. But how many of us really think of the why? And how many of us communicate this why to our clients? Because I wasn't doing it. I mean, I was, as a business, as a translator, I was doing okay in terms of earning money, being happy. But I started doing much better when I realized why I was doing it. And when I started communicating it to my clients. So I want to show you the evolution that I went through in my own business. So I started with this tagline. I started with selling what I was doing. I'll read it out loud. I'm a Polish English translator and interpreter. So I can translate, I can edit, I can proofread. That was my offering to the world. And it worked. I mean, I'm good at what I'm doing, so people were buying from me. Then I sort of moved up to the next level and started thinking of why. So in my copy on my website, in my sales material, in my marketing material, started including some words explaining how I was doing the thing I was doing. I give attention to detail and spent time on meticulous research, and I translate. So that was what I was doing. But then when I watched this clip, and it took me some time to really rework it in my head, I came up with something, as he says, something that reverses the whole circle. So it's much longer, but I'll read it out loud as well. I'm fascinated by the language that changes the reality, and legal language has enormous powers to change lives. I want to make sure that it always works right, because so many things are at stake and can go wrong when dealing with legal language. I have to be very precise and research terminology, always. And I happen to translate between Polish and English. So who's ready to hire me now? It completely changes the perspective, and also when you talk to your clients, if you start from why you do what you do, it puts you in a completely different position, because you sell an idea that inspires you every day, that gets you out of bed, as Simon said. You're selling this, and you just happen to make money on it, but you are doing it because there is something stronger inside you. We're not translating because we want to get rich, right? Nobody in here believes in that. We translate because there is something deeper inside us, a calling, a need to help people communicate, and that's what we are selling. And we need to communicate that to people. Because if we communicate the why to clients and then the how, they're going to buy from us no matter what we're offering. And with some of my clients, I could sell them anything. I could sell them translation between two languages I don't even speak, because they believe in my values, because I told them that's what I believe in, that's why I translate. Okay, so that's why it's so extremely, that's why the why is so extremely important, right? And now, another practical exercise. I want you to take a piece of paper. There won't be any tweeting now. Just take a piece of paper, draw these circles, just for yourself, just so that you have something to take away with you, and draw the what. I would personally start with why. Start with the insight, why you translate, why you do what you do, then how, and then you'll be able to put the what, your services, just here. And by doing this exercise, you'll leave this room with a piece of copy that is ready and that you can use it when you next time, for example, write an email to your clients, right? Because you'll have the big sentence that is able to communicate your values to your clients. Okay, so I'll give you about 3 to 5 minutes. Just think of your why and put it in the center, how you do it and what you do it. You have 1 minute and 3 seconds left. Ten seconds, 9, I'm not going to do it. I hope that you finished, or at least that you started, and that it gave you an idea of starting to think from the inside, of starting to think the way Apple does, if you like this comparison. So the key takeaway from this exercise, apart from the fact that you started to think like great leaders do, you should work on the why in your business to make sure that you understand it and that it's clear. And now I'll tell you why. So the wrap up of the why part. We need to know and understand the why of our business. First of all, because clients buy why, not what. Right? So the reason why English lawyers or Polish lawyers buy from me is not that I'm the greatest translator or that the quality of my translation is the best on earth and they can't find it better anywhere else. They buy from me because they understand my principles and they understand why I do it, right? Also, having why gives you enormous confidence. And I know that it is a problem, especially when you're starting out. We very often feel that we are just not there yet, that we need more experience, we need to do our internships, that we can't really translate, and some people go on for years and years not having enough confidence in themselves, and they constantly feel like a translation fraud. That's why understanding this why always gives you something to fall back on, because you know you translate, but you understand why you do it. So it's not just in vain, it's not out there. It gives you the power, enormous power, to believe in what you do. And then you don't feel like you're just one person somewhere there. You feel like there is a huge idea you subscribe to. So, for example, my why, as I said, is about the fairness of law and the way it's applied across all languages. So when I translate, I know that I'm a part of this huge idea. It's not just me, one Polish-English translator. There is this huge idea behind me. And the third reason is that why lets you believe in what you do. So I actually stand here, and I'm totally out of my comfort zone. I'm here speaking to you because I believe that what I do and what I say has a deeper or bigger reason behind it. That's why we need the why. Okay, so that was the why part of my presentation. Now we're going to move to something that's called, I want to talk about the unique selling proposition, which is the factor that differentiates us from everybody else, okay? Because if someone walked into this room now, they would say, oh, there is a room full of Spanish-English translators and interpreters, or just translators, right? We're all each other's competition, right? And a lot of people think that way. That's called the red ocean. It comes from a book, Blue Ocean Strategy. And the red ocean is, as you can see, it's an ocean where organizations or people or businesses compete. And it's such a cutthroat competition that there is a lot of blood, and that's why the ocean turns red, right? So it's all blood. So the way red oceans operate is that they compete in an existing marketplace. So, for example, we could all compete in the same marketplace, doing the same translations. our goal would be to beat the competition. So I could think, oh, I want to be better than the other Polish translator. I want to beat them all. I want to do all the Polish translations on earth, right? And in red oceans, I would be exploiting existing demand. So I would be going to companies and saying, oh, I can translate the same thing but cheaper. Start buying from me, right? That's something I could do. And, well, it's totally wrong, right? Because we don't want to kill each other. There is no reason why. There are more translations that are needed to be done than translators, right? So we don't want the red ocean. Yeah, and someone might say that we're in a room full of Spanish-English translators and one Polish one, but I know that there are actually a couple more, so I didn't know that before. The truth is that the translations we provide may be the same in quality or in standard or very similar. And I would actually expect that from professionals, that they are all able to produce translations that are similar in quality. They may be different in style, but we know that translation is not about our style, but it's about the writer. So it's normal to expect that if you take a group of 150 Spanish-English translators, their quality should be the same or very similar. The truth is, and the key takeaway is, that it's not about words. It's not about what we translate. It's about who translates them. That's the way out of the red ocean. And that's why we need unique selling proposition or a unique selling point. Something that makes me and every single person in this room so different from everybody else that this becomes our selling point. That this becomes an integral part of the product or of the translation we're selling. Now, I know that at the moment it's quite difficult to integrate how to, add something from me, something personal to translation. So there are three ways of doing it. The first way, or the first key, the first piece of the puzzle, is to have your why. And we already talked about it, and you have the tool, you have your piece of paper, so you will have your why. The second part of it is to have your personality or to have your personal brand. And that's something that Valeria is going to cover in the afternoon or in the evening, how to get your personal brand. So I'm not going to talk about this. And the third piece is to create your own blue ocean. And that's something I wanted to do now because it's an extremely important concept. And again, it also helped me change the way I operated and I worked. So the key takeaway from this slide is that you need to rediscover your why and even draw it. I mean, I have it drawn in front of my monitor on the wall, and I look at it every time. Every time I write an email to a client, when they write to me, oh, I need this translated, I reply to them and I make sure that this why is infused in this email. And then, yes, infuse your business with personality. So we'll get a very good lesson on that in the afternoon. And create your own blue ocean. So now, let's look at blue oceans. So as I said, a red ocean is a place where we're all dying because we all want to kill each other, right? And we don't want that. Let's agree on that. No one wants to kill anybody, right? And we want to beat competition. But there is a way out of it, right? There is something we can do to stop saying that the market is so saturated that we can't survive. Because it's our own decision if we want to play that game and we want to stay in the red ocean and we want to steal jobs from others or lower the rates, or if we want to break out of it. And I hope that everybody in this room wants to break out of it, right? Are you with me? Okay. So, blue ocean is a place that's so totally new that you have no competition at all. Just imagine you are a translator that has no competitors. I'm a translator that has no competitors. Right? And you can do it as well. The way you want to do it, you want to create a piece of market, a niche, a place where there is no competition. And believe me, it is possible, because I have clients that would never go to anybody else. And in this blue ocean, a place that's totally new, it's so new that there is nobody else, you decide on the price. So you tell them how much your services are worth. And I'm charging 3 or 4 times more than any other Polish English, or not any other, than the majority of Polish English translators that I know, right? And they pay, because there is no competition in the niche I created for myself. And that's the next line. We create and capture new demands. So rather than going to, I don't send emails or proposals to companies that are already getting translations. I send my marketing materials to new companies, to companies that are not translating anything in my language combination yet. And I explain to them why they may want to do it. So I draw new clients rather than taking clients from others. So that's also very important, to make sure that we reach out to new people, to new clients. Okay, so the key takeaway, in order to succeed as freelancers, we need our own blue oceans. So every person in this room has a task of creating a blue ocean for yourself. So a blue ocean, as I said, is combining your why, your personality, and your USP, and your blue ocean. All that together will help you create and find a place that there is no competition at all. And that's a tool that's supposed to help you, but I realized today that this is not really clear, it's not really helpful. So instead I'm going to show you the next slide, and I'll explain it a bit better. It's called a strategy canvas, right? You can take a piece of paper and you can go through it with me now. So what I did, I put some categories just down here: price, personality, customer service, brand, pre-purchase, purchase, post-purchase, additional services, payment terms, specialization, and seriousness. So I did all that, and I used the blue dots to mark the majority of Polish English translators on this scale. So the majority of them, the price is rather low, that's low. They don't add their personality to their brand or to their product. They do care about customer service, but not really. They are polite, and that's it. They don't care about their brands. They don't care about what happens before people buy from them. So they don't usually, they don't care about potential clients around. When people buy from them, they obviously care about them, right? Care about them more. After they buy from it, they stop caring. Like, it's okay, you paid, and let's forget about what happened. They almost don't care about additional services. They don't care about offering more or following up. Then in terms of payment terms, you can pay them in up to, let's say, 180 days, and they're fine with it, right? Or you can pay in your currency, no one's going to complain. In terms of specialization, again, not really. In Poland, the majority of translators would translate anything. They would jump and be very happy that they have something to translate. So that falls down. And they are all extremely serious about their business. I mean, you always have to address them Mr. or Mrs., and there is no fun in business, right? And then I looked at how I'm doing it. Okay, so these are the blue dots up there. So you can see my price compared to their price, right? We're talking about 2 completely different levels. Personality. I care about the fact that my personality is in my business. So I always write emails in a specific way. I always would add something from me. It may not be a joke, but there is a specific feel to every piece of my communication, whether it's a tweet, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's an email from me or a copy on my website. It has a bit of my personality in it. Then customer service. I do all I can on earth to make sure that people are serve the best way possible. And I looked at the biggest brands like Apple, like Virgin, to see how they are doing it and what I could take away from them. Then pre-purchase, I offer some things for free, but I know that I could be offering more. For example, I want to write a PDF on how to find a reliable interpreter in London because people don't know. So they write to me for all sorts of different languages, for example, Russian or Slovak or Czech that I don't do because they don't know where to find people. So I want to write just a document to help them, to genuinely help them, put it for free on my website so that they know that I have this helping spirit, because that's a part of me. Then, of course, purchase, post-purchase, also very high, so I do care a lot about them. And then we move on to additional services where the difference is the biggest. Because I always, after the job is finished, always write to the person who just bought my translations, offering additional or extra services. So if someone comes to me and says, oh, I want this press release translated, I translate it, I make sure they're happy, and then I say, oh, you know, but it actually links to a website that's in a very poor Polish. And I'm not sure if it's going to work and bring you enough return on investment because the website is very bad itself. So I would say, you know, just to make sure that your money that you put and all the effort you put in coming up with the press release, with translating it, placing it there, that it actually works and brings you enough money back, I can just edit the website, edit the existing translation, right? So that's something I would do with every customer, just to offer them something more. It's called upselling or cross-selling. And then in terms of payment terms, I'm much lower than the majority because I accept up to 45, and if someone wants to pay me with 60, goodbye. Because it's just not the way I operate, right? I believe that 45 is stretching it a bit too far already. Specialization, I'm, let's say, midway, because I do some jobs that are not directly in my specialization, but I tend to cover IT, law, and marketing. And then seriousness, as you can see, I drop down here because I'm not too serious when I do business, because I want to have fun, because it's my life. It's something that I'm doing every day, so I don't want to really be too deadly serious, too stiff about it, because I want to enjoy it. And my clients want to enjoy their businesses too. Okay, so that's called a strategy canvas. And what you should do tomorrow or on Monday, look at your competition, the way they act, and what they are doing. Put these little dots in the categories that are important in your business, and then look at how you can move your own dots to put yourself in a completely different area. Because that will be let's say, something that will help you compete because you are so different from them, right? And that explains what I said, that I don't have any competition, or maybe very little competition, despite the fact that my market is extremely saturated, because I'm somewhere else. I created my own blue ocean where I swim happily, right? And there is no killing, no blood, and everybody's happy, including my clients. Okay, so it's called Strategy Canvas. If you need to read about it a bit more after this presentation, if you just type it in, you will find some pictures. So this one, the previous slide, it gives an example of how circuses work, explaining normal, regular circuses and Cirque du Soleil, and the way how they managed to become so completely different in an industry that was already dead. Right? So that's an example from another market. Okay. So now, again, an exercise, because I need a break to have something to drink. Think about how you can infuse your business with your personality. What is that you can add? And just a note in here, because a lot of translators or interpreters I know, they think that business is here, I'm here, right? Let's stay very far from each other, because I don't really like this whole business thing. Every quirk of our personality, every weird thing about us, every little thing we can use it as a hallmark or as a distinctive feature of our business. And it comes as a surprise to many people that our hobbies are really the best sources of what makes us different. Because I know someone who's been translating for 15 years and is a passionate photographer and never thought of combining the two. Like, never thought I could actually translate things about photography because I know it inside out. He always kept these two things separate. Whereas we as freelancers, we need to think, okay, that's me, that's something that makes me different from everybody else. This person had a few awards for taking the photos. I mean, like, put it on your CV. You got awards for taking photos. That's going to impress others. That's something that makes you different. Okay? Think of what can be a part of your blue ocean strategy. What can make you different? What makes you already different? And that will help you sort of start thinking about your USP, unique selling proposition. Okay, so I want you to leave this room. I'll give you about 5 minutes. You can just take notes, or you can try to do the strategy canvas now. I'll give you a couple of minutes to think about it, and you can tweet it. What you can use to differentiate you from everybody else, okay? So I'll give you about 5 minutes to think about all that. I'll put the Twitter feed up again. I'll give you another 2 minutes because then we're closing the translator part and we're moving to talking about the client, right? So another 2 minutes. I hope you're buzzing with ideas, right? I hope you are talking about your USPs and your blue oceans. Okay, we're going to go back to the presentation. So I hope that you got some ideas. Did you? I mean, show of hands who got some ideas about their USPs, whys. Hands up. Just want to see. Yeah, some ideas. Yeah, okay, cool. So to wrap it up and to wrap up part one, these lines in here are supposed to represent something, right? Because, as I said, I'm sort of bad with graphics, but I really like strategies and drawing them. So these lines represent things like our USP, our why, our blue ocean, and one of them is the client's needs. So one of these lines is what the clients need. So this part in here, in the central part, where they all, where they all cross each other, there is just one place where they all meet. It's called the sweet spot. I mean, I called it that, right? Because it's quite cool. So this place is where who we are, what we do, how we do it, and why we do it meets what our clients need. And I know it's very difficult for some people to understand, like, why would you do only legal translation? Isn't it the same as medical? You just change the dictionary? Not really, right? So I, by default, by definition, don't translate certain texts, even if I could, because I want to be clear that I understand where all I know and I do meets what the clients need. So the key takeaway from this part number one, the translator, is that clients buy from us where our why, personality, and blue ocean meet their needs. Okay, so we talked about why. We will talk about how to do that, so that sort of branding and personality. We talked about blue oceans, and now we only need to discover what our clients need, right? And that's it, easy. So we're moving on to part two, the client. And now in here, I'm going to do something that the majority of you never actually thought about, so it's going to be a bit strange, but then after I explain it, I'm going to give you an example from my own business so that you can actually follow and understand it so that it actually sinks in. So how many of you actually think of who's buying your translations, apart from whether this is this agency or this agency? How many of you think who actually uses them, right? And how to get to know the needs of people who are using our services. Okay? How many of you actually ever thought of the client you are writing or you are trying to sell your services to? Or, because I'd say, and when I started I did the same, I was thinking about me, about the fact that I translate and I want to sell my translation services, but I was never thinking, who am I selling them to? Right? I thought that, okay, there is a pool of people who need Polish-English translations. I'm going to sell to them. And that's it. Now I know it's totally wrong, because people don't buy that way, right? We can't sell anything to masses, because masses don't buy. People buy. So we are going to do an exercise that's called the ideal customer avatar. So we're going to talk about how to find the one person who represents your ideal client, someone who you want to sell to and someone who is going to buy from you. So the way it's done, So this part is going to be divided a bit more because I wanted to give it a structure. I'm a structure freak. So I'll explain what the ideal customer avatar is, how to do one, and then we're going to go through it step by step. Then I'll spend about 5 minutes presenting my avatar to you. Then we're going to talk about what do we need it for. And then again, if you subscribe to my list in 24 hours, I'll give you some tips, right? Don't pay too much attention to it. Okay, so what, as I said, an ideal customer avatar, it's someone in your imagination or on a piece of paper who is the ideal customer who buys translations from you, right? I'm going to call this an avatar. So this is an actual person living on Earth that's buying your services and you are selling your translations to this person. I know it's very difficult to imagine that there is actually someone who is buying from us, right? But that's true. It does happen. So before we actually start doing any marketing or any business, it's extremely important. It's more important than anything else from the business perspective, is to know who we are selling to. And by saying know who we're selling to, I mean knowing everything about them. Everything. Their age, their income, where they live, what car they drive, what they do, what they watch on a TV, what sort of blogs they read, what newspapers they read, what they do when they go out, how do they spend their spare time, where do they go on holidays. We need to know all that because we need to understand our clients, right? So we need to have as many details about them to be able to understand what they need from us and how we can improve our marketing to make sure that they buy it from us. And believe me, there are companies everywhere around paying millions to get these avatars done for everybody in this room. So every company that you go to and you buy something from, like Zara, H&M or whatever, they do have these avatars in their offices. Some companies would even, have the life-size cardboard figures with their names stuck on them, and these are their avatars standing in their offices. Because everything every good company does, they know who they are selling to. Right? So I want to walk you sort of through. I know that there won't be enough time today to do it, but I want you to start thinking about it. And if you subscribe to my list in the next 24 hours, I'll send you some more questions. The key is to think about this avatar. I'm going to say him, to name him, because the majority in here are ladies, and it's easier for me. To give him a name, to think about the way he looks like, what he does in his spare time, where he shops, because it can be as simple as, if you figure out that your potential customer shops at, let's say, a supermarket down your road, you should be going there every day and handing out your business cards, okay? Because that increases your chances of actually meeting this person who may buy your services. So, for example, if I know that I'm selling to English lawyers, I'm not going to sell my services if I advertise, if I put a huge advert in a magazine for people who do marketing, right? As simple as that. If I want to sell to lawyers, I need to put an ad in a newspaper that they read. Simple. So the key takeaway from this slide, you can't sell to masses. It's not like I'm selling translations to everybody because everybody doesn't exist. You can only sell to specific people. Okay, so after we got all these demographical details like the average income, age, what they do, where they live, what sort of car they have, all that, we need to understand the customer. We need to figure out what's our avatar's biggest desire, what they want the most on earth, what is the avatar's biggest problem, and how we can help to solve this problem. So it's a bit easier if you think about a clothing company. Let's take H&M. What's an average H&M's client biggest desire? To look great, right? What's the biggest problems? Oh, you know, if I'm going to go on a date and I don't look nice and he doesn't like me, we don't go out anymore, that's my biggest problem. How this company can help to solve this problem? They can make us look great. So people at H&M think very hard how to make that connection between selling their clothes and making us think that we look great, okay? Because they are not actually selling the clothes, they are selling the feeling that we are going to go on a date and everything's going to be wonderful, he will propose, we'll get married and all that. And I know that it sounds a bit abstract, but as I said, I'll spend some time on explaining how I did that in my own business, and that will help you a lot. Okay, so key takeaway from here is to understand what motivates people and to anticipate their problems and to offer a solution to these problems. So now I'm going to spend some time, maybe a bit more than 5 minutes. Please meet John. This is my ideal customer. You know, I call him Johnny the lawyer, but you don't know him yet, so let's stick to John, right? It's not his real picture. But John, well, he's someone that's been living, I don't want to say it's been living inside my head because that's going to sound very weird, right? But he's been living in my office for a while. And he's about 31. He's a lawyer. He's a human rights lawyer working in London. He makes quite a lot of money. He recently got a house in a very posh area. He always wears suits. I know where he buys them and all that stuff. I know that he has no children, but he would really like to get a wife because, you know, it's that age, right? He's a bit lonely, but then he's extremely ambitious and he's really competitive. So he wants to be the best lawyer possible, right? And at his chambers, he always wants to fight with everybody. He's, you know, a bit sort of, you know, that heated temperament, that kind of guy, even though he doesn't look like, right? And I know what he reads. I know the sort of books and magazines he reads, where he spends his free time. I know which theatres he goes to. I know that he is at very posh restaurants, so if I want to meet him, I'll have to pay at least £100 for a dinner for myself to go there. But I know everything about him, right? And I have it written down, and I put a name next to him. I think that at some point in my life, I was a bit in love with him, but we're over now. It's all over. It's all done, right? So we stick only to business. And I discovered, after hanging around with some lawyers and reading about them and being on LinkedIn and reading their groups, I discovered what was Johnny's biggest desire. He wanted to be the best lawyer in his chambers. He wanted to be praised by everybody, and that was his really ambitious desire. his biggest problem or his biggest fear was that he was going to do something wrong, or he was going to lose a case, or he was going to be ridiculed or something like that. So his biggest fear was a fear of losing his reputation. And now, okay, knowing all that his biggest fear is losing reputation, I built whole my career on that, right? So that's big. I discovered that if he's scared of losing his reputation, all I need to do is in every piece of marketing, make sure that if he uses me, his reputation stays intact. Right? And this is really big, because my photo on my website, I look extremely pretentious. I have hair like that, up with a sort of dark face, right? Let's be honest. And everything in my website and my social media, it's all a bit, slightly pretentious. But on the other hand, I know that it really convinces him that if he hires me, he's going to get an interpreter who's always well-dressed, that I'm not going to show up in a pink shirt or in a pair of jeans to high court, which, of course, would be a massive hit to his reputation. He can also see that I'm present here and there, that I pay attention, that I do things like that. Even my logo, it's, the colors that I picked for my website and for my logo, they're a bit weird because it's all brown. You don't usually use brown on the internet, but brown is a color that lawyers know the best, because inside the courtroom, everything is brown. So if he looks at my website, he actually feels like, oh, I'm at home. I mean, in court, right? But that's where he lives. So that was a conscious choice that I made to make sure that every piece of my communication tells him that he's not going to lose his reputation. And now here comes a little story, because I actually met that person who was an ideal representation of my avatar on one of my assignments. I mean, he didn't look like that, but he was quite cool. And I interpreted it for him, and then he asked me out, like on a date. And I told him, I can't really do it because I'm here professionally and I'm interpreting, so I can't really go out with you, all that stuff. So we said that, okay, let's leave it, goodbye. But 2 months later, he called me and he said, okay, now I know that you're never going to interpret with me again, let's go out. So we went out. And I mean, we were chatting, and out of all questions, I asked him, why would you want to go out with a Polish English interpreter? And he said, because I felt that you understand me. So all my marketing worked. And then I just had to spend some time explaining, that's my marketing. So now I'm a bit more careful, and I don't go out with lawyers. But that was an ultimate proof to me that what I was doing was right, because it really ticks people's boxes. And every now and then, I would get a text message from another lawyer who found my website and texted me and said something like, ooh, I've never seen such a great website of an interpreter before. And your picture is so cool, you're so beautiful, and things like that. I texted him back, oh, if you need my interpreting services, here is my telephone number. And he keeps sending me messages every 2 or 3 weeks saying, oh, how are you doing? I still remember. I was like, okay, thank you. So these are the things that happen because I know that I tick lawyers' boxes as a professional, hopefully. But it also means that I managed to understand them, to go so deep inside their minds that I am convincing. That's why they buy from me, okay? So the key takeaway from this part is that going really deep in your client's mind helps you come up with a better marketing strategy and offering services in a better way. So, as I said, almost everything I do, I put up online about myself, goes through this avatar filter first. So I would sit in my room, ask John to sit, in front of me and ask him, listen, what do you think of this piece on my website? Well, obviously I'm joking, but it's sort of a mental exercise that I'm trying to step in his shoes to think like him and to see whether this bit of copy really sounds convincing. Okay? So that's what I did. And now, again, a couple of minutes for yourself, because I know it's quite fresh. So I want you just to start thinking of your potential avatars. You can even draw them. Just come up with names as well, and just start thinking of who they may be. And I know that it's going to be a bit, you can't do it without certain business intelligence insights. So after you go home, you actually have to do some research to find out more about them. But you can start now, because I'm sure that you have a tiny little feeling or a couple of ideas of who your avatars may be. Right? So I want you to start doing it now. You'll have another 5 minutes. Just have fun with it, right? Try to come up with someone who you are selling your translations to. Think of their names, their income, age, what they do, that's sort of where they live, whether they have a car, all that. And then think of what may be their biggest problem and maybe their biggest fear that you can solve. Okay? And if you want to, you can tweet your avatar's names. Okay? 5 minutes. it's just 1 minute left and we're moving on to a new thing. Okay, so I hope that you had enough time to... I'm afraid we'll have to go back to the last part of the presentation. So I hope that you had some time to start thinking about your ideal customer avatar and how you can use that concept in your business. Do you think it's useful? Yeah? Okay, because it really helped me, I need to put the presentation back, it really helped me to change everything I was doing. Because in the beginning, for example, my website was all about me, and it had colors I liked, and it had some little butterflies, I mean, not really, but that sort of thing that I liked, but not my customers. So it was a key moment when I made this switch from thinking about me and you know, that sort of concentrating on me to concentrating on what my clients need. So to wrap up this section, what do we need an avatar for? So as I said, it should be a starting point in all our marketing and everything that we're doing. Because if we manage to have this avatar and to understand him or her, we can come up with marketing materials that are going to work much more effectively than without it, right? So we need an avatar to do everything about our business, starting from a business name. Because, for example, my business name, Want Words, when I came up with it, I was thinking about myself, right? Because I wanted words, and I wanted everybody to want words. But now I know that it wasn't the best move for my clients. Because I know that Johnny the lawyer values reputation so much that if you look at law firms in London, something like 95% of them are named by people who started them. Because they pay so much attention to reputation that they would go and buy from people that they know and from people that are valued. So now I know that I should have named it after my name and surname because they would instantly, you know, recognize the same pattern. But they got Want Words instead, right? They have to deal with it. But now, for example, on my business card, I always use my first name, and that's how they know me, because I want them to make this connection between the values I represent and my name. But it may be completely different in other sectors, like in a medical sector that I know nothing about. I guess that using either Want Words or my name and surname wouldn't work. I mean, that's just a wild guess. But it really depends on the sector and on the avatar. Things like business cards, the avatar would define that as well. If your avatar is someone extremely creative, you know, that sort of entrepreneurial spirit, they would appreciate getting a business card that is in a weird shape, in really vivid and bright colors. Well, if I gave something like that to Johnny the lawyer, he would think I'm going crazy, right? So it helps us with this as well. In things like direct mail, in the copy that we write, sort of proposing our services, these emails where, you know, you said send to dear sir / madam, right? That's one of the reasons it's never going to work, because if you're sending an email that starts with dear sir / madam, it's addressed to nobody, so nobody's going to read it. As simple as that. And knowing the avatar, we are able to put things in the emails that convince them to hire us and to use our services. So, for example, I know that reputation is so important for them, so I wouldn't say, oh, with me, your reputation is intact, but I would sort of infer in the copy I write what they can expect from me, and that they are, well, in the end, they are going to have their reputation there. Website as well. By knowing what ticks the boxes of our clients, we're able to come up with a website that really works. So if you are on this more marketing creative side, you will have a website that your client would appreciate and find interesting or innovative. If you do medical, I suppose that violet, pink, flowers, butterflies are not going to work, right? That sort of thing. Then, for example, even email signature, the things you write there, and a lot of people don't think of their email signatures as a marketing or advertising space. But in fact it is, because that's the bit that everybody reads, right? Because they want to know who sent the email from, who sent the email. So that's somewhere where we can write, where we can send these small snippets of marketing inside as well. Then, of course, our copy, so the text on the websites or on our brochures or on all our marketing materials. By knowing the avatar, by knowing who's going to read them, we can come up with texts that are significantly better, much more efficient, and it's so much easier to write them. And I think that you would agree with me, and every writer would agree, you can't really write to nobody. That's why it's so difficult, for example, when people struggle when writing the text for their websites, because they write to nobody. They think, oh, so many people are going to read my website, so I'm just going to write something very general. It's not going to work. So we need to think of this ideal customer, of this person who is going to read that, everything that we put online or send or use in our marketing. And even clothes we wear, right? And I'm very open and honest about it. When I go to an assignment, I always look in a certain way because that's a part of my image. I mean, I can't wear pink and orange shirts when going to court or to an interpreting assignment with lawyers because it's not going to work with them. So that's why we need this exercise, and that's why I would like you to do it at home. Really think about it and think of the problems of your clients. And the key takeaway from this part, knowing your avatar influences the whole business, even the real mechanics of the business. So for example, when a lawyer writes to me, oh, I need this translated, if I wrote back to him saying, oh, it's going to be that much for 1,000 words, they would never even understand because they don't operate per words. It's totally abstract for them. So what I can do, I'm just calculating it for myself, adding different things, what I need to do, and coming up, oh, translation of this document is going to cost you that much, giving them the entire price and telling them why, what's included in the service they're getting, because that's how they operate. It may be totally different in medical, it will be totally different in marketing. Sometimes we just fail to understand that our clients may not get the same units in which we operate. Right? So that's it. That was part 2. Now part 3, the magic. The party starts. So in the magic, as I said, I wanted to talk about what happens when a translator meets a client. So we are going to talk about where to look for clients, how to convince them to work with you. So that's the tricky bit. And then we are going to start talking about your business toolkit. And Valeria is going to take it over in the evening, talking about branding. So as the title of my presentation says, clients are everywhere, and that's true. I mean, they are everywhere. It's just a matter of looking, sort of identifying the places we can meet them. So these bits in here come from a totally different presentation I did for a business. And I was trying to convince them where they could look for their own clients in the tourism sector in the UK. So I tried to explain to them that they can't only, for example, advertise in one magazine because their clients are somewhere else. So they can't really sort of put an ad on one website and that's it. So I looked at the tourism industry as a whole and looked at places where they could give presentations at, the directories that there are of existing tourism-related organizations, all of the tourism organizations in the UK, magazines and online publications. And I looked at them and I told them that's where your clients hang out, that's where they are. If you have an, let's say, Association of British Travel Agents, well, they are your clients, right? If you are an agency that wants to sell translations, that's a list ready-made for you of your potential clients. So you can't really stay there and hope they are going to come and find you. You have to go to this list and get in touch with these people there, right? Or another example, if you want people who fly business class buy something from you, your translations, you have to put your ad in a magazine that's read, like the Business Travel magazine. It's as simple as that. If your ad is not there, they are not going to know about you. So the key point behind the phrase clients are everywhere is that we need to go to the places where our clients are. So for example, I go to shows that are meant for lawyers, and I'm dead bored there, right? Because I don't do the stuff they do, but I go there and I talk to them, I learn from them, I listen to the language they use, and then I use it in my copy, right? But I listen just and talk to them and ask them, and even if I'm never able to help them, I will do something like, I will ask them, oh, so where do you take your interpreters from? And they would say, oh, we're really disappointed because we've been working with this agency, but they are sending people who are underqualified. And then I would say, oh, do you know that there is a register of public interpreters online that you can go to and you can get qualified people from? And they're, really? I was like, oh, yeah, it's been up for 10 years, right? So you better start using it. And I'm just genuinely helping them, solving their problems, and then they are grateful. And I'm not selling, because they may not even need my language combination, but I talk to them, I help them, I hang out with them. Or I would go at the same show, there was a marketing agency that was targeting lawyers specifically, so they were doing marketing for lawyers. And I was talking to them, I said, oh, so for example, if there's a law firm in London and they would need their website in English but also in Spanish, would you be able to offer that service? And they would say, oh, we usually go online on Google and we look for the first agency that comes up. Okay. No wonder why you have problems with localization, right? So I would explain to them where they can look for people, and if it's not my language combination, where they can find them. But this tells me that if one of you went there and spoke to these people, you would get a really, really fat job, right? Because they need the whole website to be localized. So that's one of the reasons why we need to reach out and go to places where we can meet our clients. And I know it can be frightening, and I've been there and I've done that. The first client event I went to, I didn't even talk to anybody because I wanted to get out of there, right? Because it was totally out of my comfort zone. Because I felt like, I'm a translator, I don't really have anything in common with these people, I just want to go home and translate. But then I understood that I really need to talk to them to understand them, to get to know them better. So I would go to this fair, I would go to this show, spend time and ask more questions than really talk. And that's a very good technique. If you are a bit frightened, ask questions. Ask them about what they're doing, what is the business they are in. And that actually, when I went to an IT show in March in Germany, it was a huge, I don't know, you probably don't know, it's CeBIT. It's one of the biggest IT shows on earth. And Poland was a co-host country. So there are about over 200 Polish companies there. So I would just walk around and ask them what they're doing, whether they are happy with what they are getting from the show, what is the exact area of IT they specialize, what sort of the things they do. I would ask a lot of questions just to put myself at ease as well, just to start the conversation. And then naturally they would ask me, oh, what are you doing exactly? And I say like, yeah, I'm here, I'm translating. And we would move the conversation to translation. Then I would ask them, how do you usually get your translations done? Because everybody there had their things translated into English. And I mean, that's how you start talking, and that's how you tell them, oh, you know, incidentally, that's what I'm doing. So maybe we could do some business here. But that's really after a lot of time, a lot of talking about them and getting to know them and understanding. And one company at this show actually told me, it was an app development company. We started talking about what they are doing and all that stuff. And then I asked them, they asked me what I was doing, and I said, oh, I'm a translator. And they said, really? Because we were so badly disappointed with our previous translation that we need someone else to do it from now on. Because they used an agency, and the agency didn't produce enough quality for them. And I mean, that was the opportunity just there. So that was yet another example of how we can seize these opportunities just by going to places physically, but also online, where our clients hang out. So, for example, in terms of online publications, if you take a publication that's read by a majority of your clients, you don't have to advertise in there. You can write an article, right? And you may even incidentally get paid for writing an article, right? And you put it there, and there's just a mention of you, what you're doing, and that can already get you some clients, right? It's very easy. You can just write about, in travel industry, things like, oh, how bad translation can hamper your hotel's website or your business, things like that. And business people will think about it, and they'll see that you're there. Okay, so it's about being where the clients are. So I sort of wrote down the things that I was doing. So I was concentrating on field-related organizations, so like all the organizations in the UK that the lawyers are members of. And I would write them down and see what they're up to, sign up to their newsletters and updates, go to field-related events. So, for example, law conferences or events. I know that they may be a bit expensive, but then you get your return. Field-related websites, field-related magazines, directories, and general business directories, like the Chambers of Commerce. Because I know this is the trickiest part, because, as I said, I've been there. I was thinking that I'm a translator, so I want to translate. I don't want to hang out with these guys. But if we want to be successful translation entrepreneurs, we need to be where these people are, because they are our clients. So what I want you to do now, in just a couple of minutes, just look at these categories and think if something already springs to your mind that you could do. A magazine that you could look at and maybe publish an article in, a website you could look at in your own area of specialization, right? So I'll give you about 2 minutes just to think about it. Okay. I promise it's the last 15 minutes and you're free, right? So I hope that you already started thinking of some potential ideas or things you can do. And I hope that you'll start applying that after today. The key takeaway from this part, we need to hang out where our clients meet, right? So we really need to be there. Okay, so I did that. Now I wanted to move on to the part of convincing the clients. And the biggest business magic secret is that clients are friends you do business with. That's a universal truth. And the reason why is that when you have a friend, you want to take care of this person. You want that friend to feel happy. You want to help them. You want to do the best you can for this person to enjoy whatever they're doing. And it's exactly the same in business. And it's so much more fun if we actually sort of treat our clients as friends, because they can feel it. And I tell you, they can feel it. And it's really like this, using this friend factor. It's something you just put inside your head when you start thinking of your clients. Using this friend factor changes, again, everything. Because you start, whatever you're doing in business, you start treating your client as a friend. So you want to deliver the best thing possible for that friend, who incidentally pays you money for it. And it's a win-win situation for everybody. And if you start thinking that way, that every client is a friend, you'll see that even the quality of your translations gets better, because you don't want to deliver. Okay, I wanted to use an obscene word here, but you don't want to deliver lower quality to a friend, right? And you don't want to sell something you are not able to deliver. So using this friend factor, clients are friends you do business with, and that is the key. That will change, again, completely the way you operate. Because you stop treating them as some monsters or, creatures somewhere. You start treating them as friends, and they will feel it in everything you do. And now this is important as well. How to make translation sell itself. Because I believe it's possible. So the key for me to selling are these 4 factors in here. The top one is passion. And I'm sure that you'll all agree. If you really have passion for something, that gives you more credibility when you want to sell it, right? Because it's the why. People know that you're passionate about something, and they know why you want to do this thing in your life. So that's one of the elements. The second element is confidence. So if you are confident that what you're doing is top quality, that you are delivering enormous value to your clients, they will buy from it. It's like with Apple, right? I'll use the same example. They are all convinced that their computers are the best on earth, and we believe them, right? And it will be the same with our translations. I mean, some of us believe them, the majority of us do. So that's another thing. Then we move on down to authority. Authority is something you build in yourself. The authority that stems from your education, from your experience, and your skill. So you really need to be a pretty good translator to be able to sell your translations. So we can't do any, half measures here. We really need to be the best quality possible. Because if we're not, no one's going to buy, or very few people are going to buy from us, and even less people are prepared to pay a lot of money for it. And social proof. Social proof, that's something that others say about us. So, for example, my clients are prepared to vouch and say, oh, her translations are really good. So if I want to sell my translations, I need a pool of clients, or I need a pool of people who will say, yes, we agree that her translations are really good. So I need all the 4 factors to be able to sell my translations, to make them sell themselves. because I haven't sent an unsolicited CV in over 18 months. I don't do it because people come to me. And I think I'm very happy that I managed to get there, and I hope that that's an ambition everybody in this room has. So in a way, I managed to make my translations sell themselves because I have passion, and I communicate this passion on my website, on social media, everywhere. I have confidence, you can see I have it. I have confidence in, well, my own skills, and I have the authority because I have education, I have experience, I do a lot of CPD, and I constantly work on my skills to make sure that I still have the authority to tell them, yes, I'm really good. And I have social proof because I have clients telling me or leaving recommendations on LinkedIn or on Twitter, telling me or saying that my translations are really good. So I managed to do all that. It took me something like 3 or 4 years, right? But I managed. And I had that. Okay, so business toolkit. What do we really need? We need to know ourselves, so that's part 1 of today's presentation. We need to know the why of what we're doing. We need to know what makes us unique. We need to know the business environment we operate in. Then we need to know our customers. So that was the part 2 of today's presentation. And we always need to come prepared. We always need to be ready to do business. And here is a takeaway from this slide. Business is like a party you throw for your friends. Everything has to be perfect. When you invite friends to a party that you host, everything has to be top-notch. I mean, I organize parties myself. I would go crazy if something goes wrong, right? So every single detail has to be perfect. It's exactly the same in business. We can't, I mean, if we invite friends, we need to have nice invitations, we need to have everything laid out nicely on a table, we need to have flowers, and they always have to be fresh and always have to be pink, not white roses, all that details. It works exactly the same in business. So if you keep thinking that you are inviting all your friends, your clients, to a big party that is actually your own business, everybody is going to have fun there. You are going to have fun because you know everything is ready, and the clients you invite to your party are going to have fun with you. And for me, that's how my business are. That's how my business is, and that's what I think makes the difference. Because nobody enjoys going to boring parties, or nobody enjoys going to parties when no one pays attention to them, or where everything is underprepared. We all enjoy going to, we know the parties we enjoy, right? So we need to make sure that we do the same in our own businesses. Okay, and that's a final action, and I promise it's the last thing I want you to do. I prepared a small list of things that I think you, well, maybe never thought of that you will need. And I'm going to start with this list and just briefly talk you through these things. You may want to note them down with some ideas that are going to come to your mind. I just lost the whole list, right? So I'll try to reopen it because it just disappeared. So just give me one moment. So I hope you got your pens and pieces of paper ready. Okay, it really did disappear, so I'll have to use my own head to give you the list. Okay, so the first thing that is necessary in your business toolkit is to have the right mindset, right? So everything we talked about today, just put it inside your head, think about it, subscribe to my list in the next 24 hours. And just having this right mindset will change your business totally and completely, right? So that's the first thing on your to-do list that I want you to write down. The second thing you might have never thought about would be a marketing plan. Because we tend to do, oh, yeah, I need a website, I'm going to start a website. I'm going to set up a Twitter account, I'll have a Facebook page, and, you know, it's all just somewhere there, but it's not, it doesn't really have a purpose. We don't really have a plan to do it. So that's something that you need, not maybe, but definitely need. The next thing that you really want to think about would also be the finances side of it. And I know that a lot of people don't really think about it. I mean, we make some money, finance, like money we make. We make some money, and we never plan it. And I was so surprised when I was chatting with a colleague a couple of weeks ago, and he told me, you know that the majority of people in translation, they never think that, for example, they want to make 7,000 more next year. They just, you know, they just get along, right? How much money they make, and that's it. And that really sort of is key. If we want to be serious about business, we need to know how much money we need to make and how much money we want to make. So I would like you to think of what are your plans of how much money you want to earn. Because it's sort of, you know, if you want to take a journey, you usually travel from point A to point B. And you can't really travel from point A to... It doesn't work like that. And it's the same in business. You start with earning certain amount of money, and you want to get to earning certain amount of money. So you need to know how much more you want to make the next coming year. So that's something terribly important as well. Okay, and I had a couple of more things on my list, but I can't really recall them now, and the list is gone because it's not showing up. But I know, it's a bit embarrassing. So just to wrap it up, I want you to think where to look for clients. We talked about that. How to convince them to work with you. And in terms of the business toolkit, in the afternoon, Valeria is going to talk you through personal branding and all these things that you need for your own business from this more practical perspective, right? Okay, and as a summary, because we're running out of time, I challenge you, that's a big one, I challenge you to write down a list of things after today and after the discussion panel and after Valeria's presentation. Write down a to-do list and be ready in 2 weeks. Have a plan for the next 12 months with all these things we talked about today and be ready in 2 weeks. Don't think, oh, I'll start working on it and I'll see how it goes, because it never will. If it's not on paper, it will never get done. So here is a challenge, and I hold all of you accountable that you are going to be ready in 2 weeks, right? Put a deadline for yourself to put all the ideas we talk about today in practice. Everything. Prepare a to-do list with deadlines, because if it's not written down, if there is no deadline, it will never get done. Okay? Prepare your why, your USP, your strategy canvas, so all these things we talked about today. Learn more about your client. Ebook that I'm writing as well, so it's really worth it. You can just subscribe to it. If you go to the main website, you'll find it as well. Okay, so I hope that you enjoyed this business presentation, and thank you very much.